Hey guys, this is Ashton, Red Modeling Painting, coming at you tonight with another PaintCast. For those of you who are trying to watch live on Twitch, I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on, but there's definitely some technical difficulties this evening. I can't pull the website up on my computer. I can stream though, but it's pretty laggy. But nonetheless, it is recording, so it will be up on YouTube in a couple days if you are happening to miss the live stream. This first part of the stream tonight, what I'm going to do is talk about working a little bit on the Glacier King. Okay, I've got a box, fresh one out of the box here from Trevor. It's for his troll army that I'm working on. I'm just going to pull the parts out here real quick, talk about them, give you guys my impression on them. And then we'll work a little bit tonight on doing some assembly on them as well. And I'll talk a little bit about how I go about assembling models. That's a good little tiny pieces. Great. Thank you, P3PP. Alright, so as you can see, we got all the parts here. It looks like a standard privateer press gargantuan at this point, the gray resin, which is nice. It is nice to see consistent color all through the resin as well. I know sometimes I've opened up kits and been different color resins and stuff, and it's typically not that big of a deal, but it's still nice to see some uniform quality here. As far as the actual pieces go, this is the Glacier that sits on top of his back. For the most part, it's a pretty smooth cast. It's got a little bit of a mold line right there on the front, but that should be very easy to clean up. And I would assume to find the same mold line on the back right there. And it looks like that's the only one, so this must have been from a two-piece mold. Got a nice plug there, though. That'll shave off fairly easily. As far as the body goes, looks like there's not much of a gap at all like there is on the Mountain King, so that's going to make assembly very nice. Just be a little bit of cleaning up that I'll have to do there. On the body, for the most part, the cast is very clean. A couple of plugs that will need to be cleaned up. Pretty nasty mold line right here all the way down, so that's going to take a little bit of work. And on the other side also not quite as bad, but has a mold line there as well. So it happens with resin models. There's really not a lot you can do about that. Set that aside. Look at some of these other parts here. Arm. Again, a nice mold line right on the middle. Placement actually of the mold line isn't too bad. That should be able to come off pretty well. I'm not too worried about it. Plug at the front here that we'll have to get rid of. And you can see also the void right here in his arm. This is where something like, not that piece, maybe this piece. I'll have to play around, but yeah, it's probably that piece. That's where those will go. Other arm, about the same quality, a little bit of flash that'll have to be cleaned up. Nice plug there. Mold line isn't quite as bad on this arm. And you got the tunic. This is probably the back piece, I'm imagining. Yep, that's going to be the back one. That's going to fit on there nicely. Got some massive hands. I've got big hands myself, and these are really quite large. But they'll clean up real well. Not too worried about those. We got a couple of feet. All right. Here's the tunic that goes on the front. Some Glacier bits that'll go on the back and the arms, I'm sure. Another one here. We've got a couple of metal fingers, which will get pinned in. And then we've got these assorted bone bits here that will all be hanging off of the tunic in various spots. So all in all, it's not a bad looking model. I have to say I'm very impressed with the Privateer Press's quality lately. Oh, of course, the head. We didn't even look at that yet. The head is very well molded. little bit of a mold line up there on the bottom there, but that's going to be out of sight. And then you've got, of course, the teeth here, which will sit about like so, and that's going to look quite impressive when it's done. And then the head, of course, will sit right there as well. So this guy's going to be pretty good. All in all, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 pieces. Not bad. Not bad at all. But I am impressed, though, lately with the quality of Privateer Press's castings. You know, this guy here, and then the new Zoll model, and then Durst that came out. I mean, there's really been some very nice looking stuff that Privateer Press has put out lately, and I'm quite happy with it. So before I get into some assembly on this, let me kind of push that aside for the moment, and I just want to talk briefly about what my toolkit is for working on models and assembling models. First, pin vise and some appropriate sized pins. I'm using slightly larger pins here because slightly larger model. I'll keep with me a couple of pairs of pliers, snips, and then actual pliers to break things off with. I'll show you guys what I do with those. I also keep, as part of my assembly toolbox, a couple of brushes, a nice stiff toothbrush and a semi-stiff wire brush. And you know, some people might say, oh, why are you using a wire brush on plastic or resin? Because the plastic and resin is very hard, and this works very well at taking it off. And I'll even just show you guys right now, you know, and I'll do it right here on this part that'll be covered up. Wire brush, scrubbing away, it doesn't do anything to the surface. It doesn't mar it at all. In fact, what it's going to do is do a really good job of cleaning it up and getting all the dust out. Everyone talks about how much of a pain in the butt the plastic kits are to assemble, which they are because they're very hard to clean up. But a brush like this is very useful for cleaning that up with. Of course, I keep around a razor saw, okay, an X-Acto knife, and then a couple of rat tail files or small hobby files. This is another reason why the wire brush is good to keep around. You can use it to clean the junk out of your file as you're going along. So I'm just going to scoot these off to the side here, and I'm going to start with the body. Might as well start with the body. So while I'm assembling a model, I will take time to kind of think about the paint scheme as well. Trevor's Trolls are a gray color. Here's one of his fen blades that I'm working on, and you can see the color of the skin. So that's, you know, pretty close to what I'm going to be doing, which is going to be a nice dark brown gray, grayish color with some blues and some greens in there. What I'm thinking that I'm going to do is the Glacier King is going to have that same gray skin color. Obviously the glacial formations I'm probably going to do in the blue and make look like an ice. And then the tunic pieces here, I'm going to incorporate some of the orange color into and some of the green color into. Not a lot of places to do that, but still I'll figure it out. It's not going to be too hard to do. So brown bears maybe. So anyway, first thing I'll do when I got a resin model though is I'm going to take my snips and I'm just going to cut the tips of these plugs off. Okay. The other thing you can do too is with a pair of pliers like this, you can just grab the plug and kind of break it off or snap it off, twist it off, you know, that type of thing. Okay. In places like this where, you know, it's all going to be hidden and stuff, you don't have to worry about getting it too clean or too flush, but then you can, you know, places like this where you've got a joint, you do just want to maybe go back after you've taken that plug off and just kind of smooth it out a little bit, so that way it will make for a nice joint. See here, there's no other plugs on him, so I can get to work on this lovely mold line. And what I'll do with this is I'll just take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to work against the edge of that mold line and just gently shave. And scrape that mold line away. And it's kind of a slow process, but you'll eventually get to the point where that mold line will be gone. Grab my file here. You'll notice too, as I'm working this file back and forth, I'm twisting it, and that is a good way to prevent a wear spot in one spot. You know, in other words, making it look like it's just been filed down in one spot too far. Back up there, and you can see me twisting it as I'm filing there. Alright, and I did wear away a little bit of the vein that's bulging on his shoulder there. But I'm really not too worried about a detail like that. I mean, this is such a huge model that really someone's not going to notice that. And particularly, you know, I'm not looking to paint this for any kind of, you know, paint competition or anything like that. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Although Trevor might argue otherwise. Really, what the biggest thing you're trying to do with working, the file around here and the edge of the blade around, is you're really trying to get rid of the ridge of that mold line. You know, if you end up flattening out a spot a little bit on a model, you know, generally speaking, that's okay. But what you really want to try and avoid doing is leaving a ridge there, because that ridge, once you get everything painted, is going to stand out like a sore thumb wherever it's at. And so just focus on getting rid of the ridge. Don't worry necessarily about blending it in, or smoothing it out, or getting the contour correct, or any of that stuff. That's just setting yourself up for a frustrating experience. Okay, and this is a bit of a big mold line down here, right through here. I mean, it sticks up pretty far, so this is going to take a little more work here. You can putty this if you want, but I don't know. I don't think it's worth doing on a model this large, especially when you're not looking for competition level quality. And a lot of this area too on this model is going to be in shadow when I'm all done. So again, it's not going to be a huge deal if I flatten this edge out or flatten this detail out a little bit, or if a little bit of the detail gets lost, because in the end you're not going to see it. And here's how I know you're not going to see it. Because see, when I hold it up under the light like that, you can see how dark it is under there. So that's how you know it's going to be hidden from view. Okay. Alright, that looks pretty good right there along the belly. One more little area there to clean up. Okay. Hold on for 1 second for me, guys. I'm going to mute for a sec.